Do you feel that your prayers aren't being heard, and do you notice that they aren't being answered? Maybe it's time to rethink and look at the power of prayer. Firstly, when we pray, we need to recognize that we are speaking from the soul, that prayer needs to be a communication from the soul to God or the divine or whoever it is that you visualize that you're speaking to. The soul doesn't understand human struggles, so there'll be a lot of things that we need to think about when we're saying a prayer so that we can be intentional and speak from the soul rather than speaking from our human selves. So for example, if you can visualize God or the divine or whoever it is that you pray to, how do you see them? It could be that you visualize them as a critical parent or as an authority figure. But all these things are going to get in the way of your prayer. So if you imagine that you're speaking to somebody who's critical, that's going to affect the way that you speak. And when we pray, we need to speak very clearly, asking directly for what we want and expecting to receive. But if we're approaching God as if he's judgmental or he's critical or we're not loved, we're not going to have the confidence to speak boldly and to speak clearly. So the first thing to do is to really think about how you're visualizing the God or the being that you're praying to, and how is that affecting the way that you're speaking. If you can imagine God as a loving, generous, warm-hearted, non-judgmental, kind being, then you'll be able to approach him with an open heart, an open mind, and completely authentically without worrying about being judged or rejected. When we have prayed, when we've set our requests before God and asked clearly for what we want, we then need to wait for answers. So really wait with expectation and be vigilant and look for where your prayer is going to be answered. And again, it's important not to have a clear picture in your mind of exactly how your prayer is going to be answered or exactly what the end goal is going to look like, because that's going to limit your perception and you may just miss an answered prayer because you expected it to be answered in a certain way. But God knows us best, and he knows what we need. He knows our soul deeper than we do because he doesn't see the human elements of it. So our prayer may be answered in a completely unexpected way, and we need to be open to that. So things you can pay attention to are anything unusual that happens in your life, anything unexpected. Be curious about these things, and as you have in mind that you're waiting for your prayer to be answered and you're exploring anything strange or unusual that happens, you may just find that leads you to the answer to your prayer in a very unexpected way. You can also feel into your intuition, so just kind of feel into whether what's happening could be leading you in the right direction, and trust your intuition and your instinct. And also say yes to opportunities. So if new opportunities come up that you hadn't expected, say yes, try them, see what happens. It could be leading you on the path to an answered prayer. Also practice gratitude. So be thankful if you see even small steps or big steps that seem to be leading you on the right path. Remember to pray and be thankful. Also, think about the way in which you pray. It doesn't have to be that you sit down with your hands folded and your eyes closed to pray. That's maybe how we were taught at school. But maybe you feel more connected to the divine when you're in nature. Maybe you feel in flow when you're dancing. Maybe when you're singing. Maybe when you're writing poetry. Whatever works for you is absolutely okay. It doesn't need to be done in a certain way. Some people find it helpful to sit in a certain chair or at a certain time of day. Literally, it's so personal, it's just whatever works for you. So challenge for today is to really speak your prayers clearly, ask exactly for what you want. Maybe take some time before praying to really define what it is so that you can say it clearly and be very intentional. And be playful with it. This is exciting, right? You get to ask for whatever it is that your heart desires. Ensure that it's aligned with God's purpose and with the greater good. So don't be selfish when you pray, but have some fun with it and see, watch and wait, have faith and expect to receive.